I like to party.
What's up? Welcome back to the vlog. Got a special little treat that is not only for you, but it's for us. So I figured I'd share my treat with you, which is 2 vintage pieces. One of them is very special. We don't get a lot of vintage in. We specialize in modern Rolex and AP primarily. Other brands too, but modern for the most part. And occasionally people will ask us if we want to buy or take a trade of like a vintage piece. So someone gave us a call, said, hey, do you want these 2 vintage pieces? And I said, yeah. We'll start with the special yet less special one. This is a day-date single quick 18038. It's missing a few links, so when it comes to gold links, it can cost a few $100s a piece, at least. And the movement is not winding. So, we have an issue with it. It's to be expected. These were produced from 1977 to 1988, if I'm not mistaken. So they're very, very old, to say the least, right? And they've been through the ringer. So we're gonna crack this open. We're gonna take a look at the movement. We're gonna authenticate this. That's what we're doing today. We're authenticating these vintage pieces. How to authenticate a date 18038 and very old Pepsi GMT Master 1675. Very special piece right here. Very, very special. Very special. Looks like an original bracelet. Looks like an original dial. Looks like an original bezel insert as well. And it's actually running pretty well. I was surprised. This is dated 1965. It's a very special piece. Some of these pieces sell for 100 grand right here. This isn't a $100,000 1675 Pepsi, but some of them do trade at that price. So we're gonna authenticate and yeah, see what's going on. So let's authenticate these pieces. Let's take a look at the movements. Let's go through the bracelets. Let's go through everything and see what we got. 18038, single quick day-date champagne stick dial. So I'm just gonna feel the movement here. And this is a piece of the authentication, but as you can see here, the movement won't wind, right? And I'm not gonna force it, but I'm gonna pop it out to one more setting. All right, so the complication of the hour and the minute hand are working. Okay, as you can see, the date just spun and the day just spun. So I'm just gonna cycle through it once more. The date just popped up again. Day, date, Saturday, it spun. 5, it spun. Okay, so the day-date function works. And this is a single quick, so they're not separate. Movement won't spin. All right, let's take a look at the dial in particular. I'm looking here, right here, it says T-Swiss made T. T-Swiss made T, okay? I will double check, but I believe that this dial might not be period correct. Might not be period correct. I believe it should say T-25, but I'm gonna double check that. However, I'm looking at the crown, the Rolex crown. Looks okay. I'm looking at the integrity of the crown itself, the balls on the top, the opening, the writing. Writing looks good, pretty standard. Cyclops looks good, date looks good, font on the day looks good, subdial looks good. Okay, so dial checks out. I believe the dial is fine. I don't know if it's period correct though. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this case back off and we're going to look at the movement. But before we get there, we're going to take a look at the bracelet. I'm just pinching the bracelet to see in between each link. You can see if things have been polished that way. The bracelet also is going to have numbers associated with it. Let's see if we can. There. Here. I'm going to check to make sure these numbers match up for period correctness. A lot of times you'll find aftermarket bracelets on these day dates. This one looks okay though. Once I pull it off, we'll take a better look at it. All right, let's take this sucker off here. All right, you know what? I'm going to just pull one of these screws out, open up the bracelet. Looks okay. Looks genuine. I'll check to make sure it's period correct. Okay. Okay. Stamping on the case, 18038. Might look a little off because of the rounded case. I'm just looking at the stamping and integrity here. The stamping and integrity here. I'm going to put it under my loop. All right. That's the 12 o'clock, the 12 o'clock side of the case. Now we're going to take a look at the six o'clock side of the case where the serial number is going to be. Just a matter of doing this while looking through the camera, which is the hard part. There we go. I'm just looking at the stamping, make sure it looks okay. All right, everything checks out for the most part. Next, we are going to open the case. I think the movement's a 3055. If I'm not mistaken. We will know here in a second if the movement is real or not. Okay, so 3055 movement. What I'm looking at to authenticate is this control arm right here. On the real movements, there's a single control arm. I believe that's the name of it, control arm. I could be wrong. And the spring down below the control arm, okay? Fake movements typically have two arms here. Real movements typically have one. Also, if you look at enough Rolex movements, you just know what the wording looks like on the inside here. It's very, it looks very normal. You know, this is 40 plus years old and it looks very similar writing to a brand new modern Rolex. Okay, good news. I know the movement's real. I called my buddy and the watchmaker, Danny, and asked him about this being a period correct dial. And he said it is. And it's always good to have a second set of eyes, especially when you're authenticating. The good news is this is authentic, and that's how we authenticated it. We looked at the dial, we looked at the movement, we looked at the bracelet, which means it is authentic. It's not running, which is a little bit of a pain in the... But it's not really a big deal, to be honest with you. All right, so we're gonna take this case back. I'm gonna kind of just seal it up for the most part. All right, let's go back to our... Okay. Let's put this bracelet back on. When you're putting a bracelet back on, one of the best ways of doing it is setting the bracelet end link, which is this, like to the back, like this. And you kind of just, see if I can do it. Grab the spring bars here on both sides and depress it, and hopefully it just drops right in. Hopefully. It's a little bit tough doing it through the camera. Not gonna lie, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. These popped right off when we were taking the bracelet off, but it won't pop back in. Okay. I have it in. You just kind of wiggle it and the spring bar will set into the holes. Okay. So here we go again. Okay, now the 6 o'clock. I'm going to take this end link. See how it just kind of sits there. Spring bars are poking out. End link is in the back of the case. I'm going to take my handy dandy tweezers and try to set this like I'm a pro through the camera. Of course, which didn't work. There we go. That should do it. Okay, sat right in. Now we got to close up this bracelet, which is pretty simple, right? Empty link right here. You can see there's no screw. Okay. Take this presidential bracelet, kind of slip it in there. Take the screw, sit it in the empty hole, and it should. Of course, it doesn't want to do it easily for me because we're on camera, you know, but these vintage pieces are, they're old, you know, so they've been bent, they've been moved, they've been everything. This one's been polished clearly. It's just being a pain in the ass. All right, let's try this differently. This usually takes literally a second, but you know, occasionally it doesn't. Okay, back together. Good to go. We have a real 18038 single quick day date from 1986. Nice piece. And with the value of gold continuing to skyrocket, these do typically appreciate between 5 and 7% annually. Good little investment piece. Not a lot of watches are good investments, but this one's solid, along with the two-tone date just from this era, single quick 16013. And that's how you authenticate a watch, day date. It's really no different on other Rolexes specifically. You want to look at serial numbers, you want to look at dials, you want to look at bracelets, you want to look at movements. And that's how you authenticate something. It's pretty simple, but I mean, for a large part of my, not a large part, but for a part of my career, I didn't know how to do that. That's it. And we got a real day date, and someone's going to be real happy when they buy this, because we are going to make sure it gets cleaned up, brought back to new. Let me know if you guys like this. All right. I'm going to shoot a separate vlog on the GMT because I think it needs its own show. Let me know if you guys like this authentication process. If there's any questions you have regarding it, let me know in the comments below. And catch you guys next time. Peace.